Hey everyone, Rascal here. It's been a while since we had some Rascal reviews, hasn't it? Well, today I'm going to cover another movie series that's actually been very close to me and one of my favorite trilogies and movies of all time. That would be the Kung Fu Panda trilogy. And yeah, I know there's going to be a fourth one in 2024, which I'm really excited about and also a little nervous. And I'll get to that in a minute. This originally was supposed to be out a little earlier in April, but a lot of things ended up piling up offline and having to help family and uh, working on stories. So this one's just a little bit late coming out, but this is still something I wanted to cover, especially for April, which is my birthday month. Now, I wanted to cover Kung Fu Panda, all three this time, because I have seen quite a few people make videos about the franchise itself, or maybe their favorite movie out of the three, or the TV series, or the streaming series, or even their favorite character or villain from the show or movie. But I really want to talk about why I enjoy so much. And a part of it was inspired by another YouTuber who made a video about the trilogy as well, and explain why the entire trilogy is a masterpiece in itself. And I really agree with it, to be honest, because I remember actually going to see Kung Fu Panda when I was a kid, back when it was first being in theaters, and I really, really loved it. That was one of the biggest movies I wanted to see at the time. My mom wanted to see, I think it was either Batman Begins or The Dark Knight, one or the other. And after she saw her movie, I got to see mine not too long after. So, what does Kung Fu Panda mean to me? I guess in a way it's like Voltron, where I really grasp the story and the lessons within it. I really love that there's such a positive feel throughout all three movies. Even with the second one becoming a bit dark because of the villain, it still has that hope in it. It still had a piece of hope that you knew was going to prevail and good was going to win in the end. And it takes the story of the chosen one prophecy or the special or something like that, and end up being the greatest warrior of the world. And in a way, they kind of play off of that in here. They even do some of the old karate movie tropes, and you may recognize a few of them from Karate Kid and other films, where you have a person supposed to be learning, they think they're not learning anything, but then the master learns to do the instructions and lessons in a way where the student will understand, then he's excel, and so on and so forth. And I really like they really played around with that concept, because really when you hear the title of the movie, back then people really didn't give that much attention to it, because it sounded like it was going to be a really stupid movie. And I do remember that was the biggest thing that made it a hit, is that it sounded like it was going to be a dumb concept. The title sounded bad at the time, and people thought it was just going to be a quick cash grab for DreamWorks and they move on to the next project. But when you watch it, you're pretty surprised on how deep it is, how well animated it is, how well structured it is, how they took a concept that's been done before, like how Lego Movie did, and turned it into something new. And it's like the ultimate lesson in don't judge a book by its cover, because inadvertently that is the lesson of the first movie, and then there's different ones as it goes on. And for me, I think everything about the trilogy is perfect. It had great story. It had a great voice cast with Jack Black as Poe, a perfect fit. It had fantastic animation, both in the 3D within the film and the 2D when they do the dream sequences and the end credits. The music score is fantastic, whether it be a rendition of Kung Fu Fighting or their own original soundtrack that they use for all throughout the movie. I think it's perfect. It's one of the best movies and series ever made. And not forget the other specials that came with it. You had the Secrets of the Furious 5, which was a backstory on all of the Furious 5 characters, how they became masters. You had the Secrets of the Scroll, where it showed Furious 5 in the first mission, how Poe ended up loving Kung Fu. Secrets of the Masters, where it showed about the three masters from the second movie and how they became masters, and that actually ended up being really good too. And then, of course, you have the Kung Fu Panda Holiday Special, which is one of the best holiday specials DreamWorks has ever done, and it's just so heartwarming, you gotta see it. And then finally, you have some TV series. You had Legends of Awesomeness, which I've only watched a little bit of when it was airing. You have Paws of Destiny on Amazon, which was it was okay. It was one of the few Kung Fu Panda things I thought was just okay. And then you have the more recent one on Netflix called The Dragon Knight, which I'm gonna be honest, I was a little disappointed in, but hopefully it gets better. But as far as the movie's concerned, they're fantastic. I love the story, music, animation, characters, voice cast, everything. I love it. And I've loved it since I was a kid. I have seen all three movies as they've come out on DVD, and the first one in theaters. I've watched all the specials. I've watched almost the whole TV show. And it is just one of the most fun things you'll ever watch. It's such a feel good movie series. And each one has its own tone, so you don't try to do the same thing twice. The first one, of course, about Poe becoming the Dragon Warrior and the training like those martial arts films. The second one takes a pretty dark turn, and I think a lot of people loved the second movie because it was really dark, and people really love dark stories and more mature subject matter, but they handled it in a way where it didn't involve blood, gore, violence, and things that shouldn't be on screen for kids. People really seem to love that movie the best, and I can see why. I think I personally love all three movies equally, but I can see why the second would be the favorite. They had a deeper colors and deeper animation for the 2D scenes. They had a more complex storyline and Poe finding out who he is. Lord Shen was probably their best villain of the trilogy. Gary Oldman was phenomenal as Lord Shen. He was so good that Hollywood kept casting him in villain roles, whether they be live or animated. I mean, he was probably the best part of the movie and had the best performance of the whole cast for that film. Then you had the third one, which a lot of people seem to thought was okay. But I guess because they set the bar so high with the second one. But for me, it seemed like they wanted to have a more lighthearted, fun movie. Though, of course, the villain was Dark with Kai, who's voiced by J.K. Simmons. And the first one had Tai Lung, was voiced by Ian McShane, who was an intimidating villain too. All three villains were pretty intimidating. The third one didn't want to take its incredibly seriously. It does say it is a threat to Kung Fu. He wants to wipe out Kung Fu, wipe out the pandas and everything. And it's fine. And I don't think anything's really wrong with the film, but it seems like they liked the darker tones of the second one, and to find out who you are, it really resonated with a lot of people. Third one, I guess, seemed too fun, I guess, for some people that love the dark turn the second one took. But I'm personally fine with it being lighthearted, because if they had stayed dark for two movies in a row, it would have started feeling like Kung Fu Panda was going to become less of a family film, more of like an older audience film without becoming very graphic. So I think they went the right decision with making the third one more fun, more playful, more lighthearted, and balancing out the dark and the light so you can present a complete film. And of course, you know my favorite character is Poe. I love all the characters, but Poe is definitely my favorite. And I really love all the messages in there about the past, present, future. There not being any accidents. The universe knows what it wants to give to each of us. And it's very heavy in law of attraction. And I mentioned this to Mama Entertainment at some point. It's a very law of attraction heavy series, especially the third one where they're talking about connecting to the universe and everything. And it seems to me some people just don't seem to care for that theme. Maybe it's too cosmic for them or something. Maybe it's just not what they're into at this point. They want just the action and the dark and all that. And it's fine if not everybody's into it. It's perfectly fine. But it reminded me a lot of Voltron, and clearly whoever is in charge of it wants to rely on the manifestations of knowing you can win, you can be the master, you can win the fight in order to achieve your goals. And I'm not sure how they can top number 3 with a fourth one. It's almost like the MHA movies. You've already done 3 near flawless films. I don't know how you can do a fourth one. Then again, it could be surprised, and I just hope that it's entertaining at the most. I hope it's just entertaining and fun to watch. All the original voice cast who are still here return to play their roles, and I hope that they do a phenomenal job just as they've done with the other 3 movies and the specials. So you guys can tell me what you think of Kung Fu Panda in the comments below. Do you love it as much as I do? Do you think it's just an okay trilogy and you have another favorite DreamWorks franchise? Or do you actually not like Kung Fu Panda at all and you can explain why you feel like that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments about the movies, favorite characters, specials, what messages meant the most to you. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.